Hello, my friends. Well, it should be pretty obvious at this point to anybody with a half a brain or even a quarter brain that Donald Trump is desperately trying to provoke and incite a civil war in the United States. Just a couple of days ago, Trump's goons, J.D. Vance and Stephen Miller, released a statement basically goading ICE agents, telling them that they can be as violent and as deadly as they want, and they don't have to worry about any repercussions because they have full federal immunity. Basically, telling ICE agents, hey, if anybody resists, if anybody gets in your way slightly, if anybody even slightly touches you, if anybody disobeys you, that you can be as violent as you want to be. You can be deadly, you can use deadly force, and you don't have to worry about anything. There'll be no repercussions for you. Now, of course, that's nonsense. Federal immunity, even if that were granted to them, does not imply state immunity. It just means that they have immunity for at the federal level, but that doesn't say anything about the state level. You can still be prosecuted. You can still go to prison for crimes at the state level, but they're counting on the fact that ICE agents aren't the brightest bulbs of the bunch. They hired basically the biggest losers that basically don't even have high school diplomas. Um, so here, let's take a look at what Stephen Miller said.
To all ICE officers, you have federal immunity in the conduct of your duties. And anybody who lays a hand on you or tries to stop you or tries to obstruct you is committing a felony. You have immunity to perform your duties, and no one, no city official, no state official, no illegal alien, no leftist agitator or domestic insurrectionist can prevent you from fulfilling your legal obligations and duties. And the Department of Justice has made clear that if officials cross that line into obstruction, into criminal conspiracy against the United States or against ICE officers, then they will face justice.
And there you have it, folks. Donald Trump is hoping that ICE agents are going to become more emboldened by this, more quick and prone to violence and the use of deadly force. He's hoping that more people are going to be shot and killed, right? Because that will hopefully cause an uprising. And then once that happens, he can use that as a pretext to invoke the Insurrection Act and send in the military. These guys have no idea that they are pawns in a larger political game. These guys are not the brightest bulbs in the bunch. Most of these guys have probably at most a GED education. Um, and then they go through and have about 40 days of training, I read. Okay. Um, and then once the Insurrection Act is invoked, Donald Trump will send in the military. The military will become the police in these areas where they will be arresting civilians, maybe doing traffic stops as well, which will cause even more instability, which will cause even more people to rise up to protest and eventually, hopefully, according to their plan, to riot so that they can crack down even harder and evoke martial law. Once that's done, they can have military curfews, and then they can say, essentially cancel the election, or if not outright cancel the election, they can make it extremely impractical to actually go out and vote. Remember, they've done that before. In the 2020 election, remember Donald Trump ordered the dismantling of mail sorting machines to essentially stop mail-in ballots. So there's precedent to do this, and all of the minions, Pete Hegseth, the Christy Nome, they're foaming at the mouth to get the order to send the military into these places and shoot protesters on sight if necessary. They will do it. They're hoping that they get that order. And then, like I said, voting will be extreme. They may have voting, but it'll be extremely impractical. They'll say something like that, like, voting will be from 12 p.m. to 3 p.m. at one of two polling places in the state. And, you can go there and wait in a 12-mile long line, surrounded by soldiers carrying automatic weapons, armored personnel carriers, and that's how voting will be in the United States from that point on. That's how people vote in places like Russia, Saddam Hussein's Iraq. pretty much all of these dictators that want to fool the world into uh, having them believe that they're actual democracies, but they really aren't fooling anyone, right? And that's how voting will be in the United States. Now, is any of this legal? No, of course it's not, right? But neither is kidnapping leaders of other countries. That's not legal. Threatening the annexation and invasion of territory of NATO allies. That's not legal either. But remember, Donald Trump was granted essentially total immunity for any and all acts that he does in his official capacity as president by by the traitorous Supreme Court in Trump versus United States. I think 603 US 593. Look it up. And he essentially has king-like powers now. He essentially is above the law now, right? And that's why he isn't concerned about openly saying, "Hey, maybe we should cancel the election." We're gonna invade Greenland. We're gonna bomb, pretty much any country that he wants to bomb. So there we have it, right? We essentially have a king that is above the law as the president of the United States right now, and we can thank the traitorous Supreme Court for that. And I don't think this is going to end well, folks. But I guess we'll see where this ends. Only God knows. So let me know what you think. Am I crazy? Am I right? Am I wrong? Am I a crazy conspiracy theorist? Let me know in the comments below. And thanks for watching.